SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Here's Sammy the Shovel here to tell you to call before you dig.
A lot of homeowners are working hard to create a living home. Whether it's expanding that crowded deck, maybe a swimming pool, good times start with these additions. And that's why we respectfully ask you to first call 811 and have your utilities properly marked before you dig. It saves you from injury and expense. It's the law, and it's just the right thing to do. So call 811 before you dig. Remember us for your next project. Just call 811.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Good morning to you. How are you on a Monday morning? From majority of Americans, I'm afraid I probably know the answer. Definitely a majority of Mississippians. The north half of the state still completely a mess, I think, is the best possible way to phrase it. Dave Hughes in for Richard for what I would assume would be obvious reasons, Lance. Richard, he's not here, but he's not having a day off.
No. It's I checked in on him yesterday, and it's a rough spot up there, man. And I got to see a bunch of pictures of friends and people that have sent them, and it was really a war zone. It looked like. I've not seen anything like that with the number of trees and power lines down. It was not really a wintry picture. A lot of ice, but not one of those people sledding around and having a big time.
Well, the swath that they had forecast last week that was going to get the brunt of it turned out to be fairly accurate.
Yeah.
The fringes kind of wobbled a little bit back and forth, but the war zone, as I think you very appropriately named it, was, if it wasn't dead on, it was close. All up through North Mississippi, southern Tennessee, just got slammed. And, you know, I think the most sobering thing that has come out of it, and we'll talk about it again later, Tippah County, up in the northeastern corner. It's the northeasternmost county in Mississippi. They released a statement yesterday and said that they were looking at weeks, not days, to get the power back on for everyone.
Yeah, Caleb Sailors was broken that story and did a great job covering it. And, yeah, one of those situations, it's not anything you want to hear for the residents of Tippah County potentially being without power for weeks. You know, it's just one of those terrible situations because there's no easy answer for that. You know, I'm working around here like with my father, just trying to get the generator and everything running. Not everyone has that, but even if you do, just having fuel to put into it after a certain point is extremely problematic. Getting to and fro, and if residents don't have power, then gas stations and many other things don't. So it's one of those terrible situations that our heart and our prayers are definitely with you. And anyone in that area that does have updates to share with us through the week, please keep us informed.
Yes.
As we are thinking of you guys, and hopefully if there's anything we can do, you know, we'll do our part.
Yeah, C Spire text line is always open. We want to hear how you're doing, how things are in your neck of the woods. And especially when you consider this was the opening swing in a 1-2 punch, because it's not really going to warm up this week. It's, of course, freezing cold right now, just about everywhere in the state. By Thursday, we'll get back up in the low 50s with lows at night right around the freezing mark. And then over the weekend, we have another Arctic air mass that is forecast to come in with the lows back down around 20 by Saturday night. So, we're kind of racing the clock in a way here. Because you're looking at a good 7 to 10 days of freezing or near freezing temperatures at night. That is far, far too long to go without power or any means to heat your home.
Well, there may be one saving grace as of the point I'm at right now. Looking into forecasts, I'm not seeing that precipitation as we get back into another one of those lows that pushes through during the, as you mentioned, the weekend as it's ensuing. You know, the cold up there in the Northeast, though, is just not going to be something that gives away much through the week. You'll have in the Corinth area, the high of Tuesdays around 37. And then it seems to start kind of dropping again as we go through the week. So, you know, just thinking of you folks, I know it's not going to be easy, and today and tomorrow are going to be extremely cold until you probably get some sun up tomorrow on Tuesday. Then it gets back down into the 13 range in the evening. So, not, you know, hopefully some of that will melt out and the roads will get clear enough and the utilities will be able to get to the point where you can turn on certain things. But, man, that is just going to be a long process right there.
Well, I know we had spots where it wasn't even just the neighborhood power lines. You know, tree limbs snap, lines go down. We're familiar with that. Saw reports in a couple of places where the main transmission lines were taken out. And that it doesn't matter how the wires are in your neighborhood. If the main transmission line is out, everybody's out. So we have some definite serious problems that are not going to be fixed today. I do not want to be the harbinger of bad news. I don't want to start on a negative note, but we have to deal with reality as it is here. Currently, the estimate is around 158,000 people in the state of Mississippi without power, most of them on the western half of the state and concentrated in north central and northeast Mississippi. That number's not going to go down nearly as quickly as we would like to see it go down. Part of the difference is that, you know, after, say, a hurricane or a tornado or something, in a day or two, everything just comes back up because the men and women, the folks out there working, the line crews, get out there and get their job going. I know yesterday, early in the morning, they had to call off the power crews in Oxford because the tree limbs were snapping and falling on them while they were trying to work on it. So they just had to go home.
Well, I touched base with Rick Mize yesterday just to see and make sure our Oxford folks were doing okay. And he said, man, he's walking around with a hard hat, you know, so I think that was pretty much everywhere that storm hit in that diagonal across the state. The tree limbs are just popping everywhere. I know I had reports from Issaquah County and other places in the Delta that were almost identical reports to what you were seeing or hearing in Oxford, and that was the tree lines and the power lines, things that we had discussed last week being the most likely problematic things that you would encounter, and I think that's exactly what it looked like to me, and from the reports we were going to get, that was accurate. And that storm, as you said, it just kind of stayed on a line there, and it never really pushed far to the east. We were expecting maybe an opportunity for that to happen Sunday, but it never pushed through Jackson, and it just seemed to keep that diagonal. Now, that's a saving grace for many in the south part of the state and the central and the eastern part, but, man, there was no place to hide in the Delta and the north and northeast side. So one of those epic storms, I was reading something earlier that the average temperatures were the lowest recorded in the lower 48 states in the United States since 2014. That average temp was around 13 degrees.
Ouch.
The record was in 2014, which was 9 degrees, and the only reason that we didn't hit that this time was because Florida was extremely warm during this storm. So if you took Florida out of the picture, this would have broken the record for the lowest temp recorded for the average 48.
Well, we don't want another one, but the temperature-wise, we're going to get another one. As you said, it doesn't look like we're going to have the same precipitation problems this coming weekend that we just got through dealing with. But keep in mind, and I know this is the hardest thing to do. Been in this situation many times in my life. And that is be patient. Take care of what you've got to take care of and operate under the assumption that the power is not coming back on today.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to see their power come back on today. Just don't assume it's going to be you. Make your plans as if it's not. And that way, if it does, hey, happy day. Everything's better. Because you've got this situation, the temperatures are still freezing. They're going to stay freezing or below freezing. Which means that ice isn't going away, which means we'll continue to see limbs snap off. We'll continue to see lines get taken out, even at a much lower rate today. So it's not going to be quite the one step forward, two steps back that they were fighting against yesterday, trying to get some people's power back on, but it's going to be more in that direction to just one step forward, one step forward, one step forward. Be patient. It's frustrating. It could be deadly if you don't take care of everything you need to take care of. This is not the usual cheerful opening that I like to do for the show, Lance, but this thing, and we're going to be talking about this stuff again all during the show. We've got Scott Simmons with MEMA back with us, Julia Wise with the Tennessee Valley Authority. They've got a lot to say. And we're going to check in with our buddy Richard and see how he's doing up there in Oxford, Mississippi. All of that. Kelly Bennett will join us. Busy day here on the show. Got a lot to get to and a lot to talk about. And we want to hear from you as well. C Spire text line always open. Text in. Let us know how things are going in your neighborhood and how the weekend went. We continue on this Monday morning on Mornings. Right after this. Keep it here.
Woke up this morning, we had them Statesboro blues. I looked over in the corner, Grandma and Grandpa had them too.
From the Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Well, I ain't superstitious, but a black cat is crossing my train. Well, I ain't superstitious, black cat is crossing my train. Don't sweep me with no blow. Out of my head, get good in. Go ahead on. Go ahead on.
Welcome back. Mornings. Presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. CommunityBank.net is where you go for more information. I keep refreshing the power outage page, Lance. I keep hoping for good news, but so far that number hasn't moved, which is to be expected. It's still dark outside.
Well, and that you were mentioning the 161 kilovolts transmission line, and those are the big ones, three-phase. Electrical lines typically used for your regional distribution, and they're the ones with the big H frames sometimes, or the big T frames, and are the ones that basically come from your power generation station. So they're regional output. So as you said, this could be a little bit of a long issue. It's not one of those things you just run down to the store and can get. And when you take a look at those large, how large those are, and when they do the work around here, it usually takes several days to work on those large transmission lines. And I did while I was digging, I found it fascinating. You know, the largest line, I thought 161 kilovolts sounded pretty big, but apparently American Electric Power is the leading industry provider there with a 765 kilovolt line. That's man, you just put that in perspective, 5 times bigger than what we're dealing with. Yeah. So, in other words, if you're anywhere near power lines, please, folks, stay away from them. I had too many people yesterday telling me that there were folks driving over them on highways, and I think we got fortunate that there weren't any major injuries and loss of life. Let's keep it that way. I'm proud of Mississippi for buckling down and doing a great job over the weekend, but we're not out of the cold yet, so to speak.
Yeah, we've got plenty of problems left to deal with in a way. And I don't know if you've ever been through things like this, some type of natural disaster. While it's happening is different from dealing with the aftermath, mentally and emotionally. while it's happening, there's something going on. You're focused on that. You're focused on seeing what happens next. Where is this going? And then you get to the nasty aftermath where you have to struggle through it. It's a different thing. It takes a different mentality to process it. So as a result, it's different. We're going to enter that difference today for a lot of people. Really, yesterday, some people did. But today, definitely. Now everybody has to bear down and grind it out. And you mentioned during the last segment about it looking like a war zone. We have seen pictures from all over the place with power poles snapped, transformers just lying in the middle of the street, those electric lines everywhere. And just to reiterate what Lance just said, if you see a power line down, if there is a line down, do not assume that it's a dead line, because sometimes they're not. A lot of times they're not.
Yeah, prepare for the worst in that situation. You know, you may be running late for something and you go, I got to. No, you don't. You do not have to drive over that power line. You can turn around and go another way. But as Dave said, don't assume that those things are dead. It's just too risky, way too risky to even chance it.
Well, and that's the thing. If you're in an area where lines are down, what are you doing out driving anyway?
Yeah, and that's what I kept seeing videos yesterday of folks kind of out and about, you know, and it just be careful. This is one of those things where I think we've escaped something here when the governor tells you we didn't have any loss of life up to this point. We haven't had any major problems with health. Again, we still got a ways to go with this. And if you need to check on neighbors, pick up that phone and call them early this morning. No telling what has happened in those areas most affected overnight. And hopefully thoughts and prayers will be continuing to ensure we get through this thing with as little loss of life or personal damage or injury. And we're here with you, so please continue sending those images. We had one from Manti, Mississippi, up there, the good village of Manti in Webster County. It looked like it was clearing up pretty well on the roads. I had a report from Jason in Starkville, said his house was just right out of the ice. Oh, so, nice. You know, it's one of those, you had that line there, and it just really seemed to stick to that. So if anybody out there that was fortunate enough was right there on the edge of that, don't test it too much, but definitely reach out to your friends and family and folks and just make sure they're okay.
Well, and I will say I got extremely lucky because that ice line stopped about 40, 50 miles northwest of my house. Mm-hmm. So that's close enough. That's plenty close. Thank you. Do have one correction that has since come out since Governor Reeves had his press conference yesterday. Mm-hmm. I encourage you to go look at that. Good information in that. A Tishomingo County man did die yesterday. A tree was weighted down with ice. It uprooted and collapsed on his mobile home and killed him. So that would be related to the weather. So we have had that one. Hopefully, that's the only one we're going to have to talk about. That's what we're shooting for here. But you mentioned something. I want to bring this back out because this is by far the most important thing that you can do right now. If you're in these affected areas, and it almost feels diminishing to refer to these affected areas because it's basically half of the state. Check up on the people you know. Check up on the people you don't know, because it's times like this when community can save lives, literally, because there are some people, especially the older people, I say this all the time, that sometimes they have the attitude of, well, I'll be fine. I don't want to be a bother. And you're not going to hear from them.
Right.
You have to reach out. You have to initiate that contact to make sure everything's okay with them, make sure they have what they need to stay warm, make sure they have what they need to make it through this. Everybody has to be on everybody else's side right now. And if you do that, it makes it a lot easier, and we'll pull through it just fine. But that's step one. Cannot overestimate how important that is. we tend to, in our life as we live it on a normal day now, kind of mind our own business. We tend to our own business in some ways. And, you know, that's what you got going on. Yeah, that's fine. I got to take care of my stuff. This is the kind of time where everyone has to pull together, because I want everybody to be safe. And in about 2 weeks, us to be sitting here laughing about it and going, well, boy, that was rough. Yeah. And that's the worst thing we have to talk about.
You know, that's a good point. It's just, I put it in perspective, like dealing with my 79-year-old father. I had this conversation with him Friday, and you know, just kind of going through, are you ready for this? He's like, ready? Yeah. What do you mean? Are you? What are you talking about here, Pops? You got the water, you're thinking through this, you got some candles, and it done nothing, you know. And thank goodness at this point we did not get hit like that. But there have been times where we have, and as you said, you know, I don't know if I'd have heard from him for a couple of days, and if I wouldn't have checked, and so it was one of those things. I think he got out Saturday and got some things and felt much more confident that he had covered some of those bases, because had it hit here like it did in much of the state, it would have been a mess. I mean, it just, you can look at the pictures and you can see the divergence, and over here's where it hit and over there's where it didn't. And so, yeah, please just reach out to friends, family, folks, people, if you, like Dave said, even if you don't know them, because a lot of the older folks are going to be there going, well, like, you know, I don't want to call, you know, I don't want to ask for anything.
They've got enough to deal with.
Yeah, they're dealing with their family.
There is one other aspect of this, though, that you have to keep in mind. We live, and especially with you and I, it's easy to forget this, because you and I are both connected 24/7 to everything going on everywhere. That's part of the job. Mm-hmm. There are people that have no clue what's going on. And I'll give you an example of that. My wife's sister down in Louisiana, she was talking to her, said, you know, it's not going to get too bad down there, but are you ready? And she said, for what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, literally had no idea any of this was going on. There are people like that out there that didn't even know that there was a storm coming, because they don't keep up with things. Mm-hmm. For better or worse, in this case, it would be for worse. That's another reason to check in with people, and moving forward, to check in with people like you did with your dad before the problem gets here, so they have time to get ready.
Knowing him, I was like, normally he's on Weather Channel 24/7, and he'll just sit there and, you know, mentally be prepared. But physically, what had he done to nothing at that point? So I was happy that we kind of covered some bases. And with Tippah County, as I said, it's not going to be days for every person. It's going to be weeks to get everybody back on. That doesn't mean that there won't be power coming back on intermittently here and there, but it's going to be a situation where it is going to take time, and the safety of the residents and those working are the number one concern.
Exactly. Today could be hairy in terms of out there working on it. So our thoughts definitely go out to those folks taking care of that business today. We continue on mornings on a Monday, a cold Monday, right after this. Keep it here.
From the Seabrook.
On your radio, on our app, or on your smart speaker. We're always free. SuperTalk Mississippi, your home for mornings with Richard Cross.
Welcome back. SuperTalk Mississippi mornings, presented by Community Bank, who's here for every part of your financial journey. If you're looking to manage your personal finances, their banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. If you're ready to grow your business, they offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. If you're dreaming of a new home, their mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless, all designed with you in mind. They're more than just a bank. They're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. I've got a list of closings about as long as I am, Lance. Everything under the sun. Just assume from Jackson North it's closed.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the impact map on Weather Channel, that thing reached out to West Texas, where you had snow out there all over Texas. Little Rock got pulverized over there with inches upon inches of snow. Oxford and North. Weather Channel actually did an exclusive on Oxford. And much like we've been saying, is it rolls into that footage. It says, no, this is not a setting from the newest Armageddon movie or End of the World movie. This is a town in Mississippi. And the images are just seeing those big oaks like that just all over the place, power lines everywhere, and just images of people trying to drive in this. Even if you have a four-wheel drive truck or anything, you're not going anywhere fast and likely will find yourself in a ditch pretty quick. So, again, patience is a virtue in these situations, especially those where there's intense amount of ice.
Well, let me tell you a story. This was, again, about 10 years ago, a little less than 10 years ago. We had a bad ice storm event down here in southwest Mississippi. Well, there was someone who got out, decided they were going to go ride around, and wound up in a ditch, a fairly steep embankment down into the ditch. They were, nose down into the ditch. Well, they called a tow truck. The tow truck got there and slid off into the ditch on top of the car. Yeah. They then called a second tow truck, which also slid into the ditch. Then they called law enforcement, who were slowly making their way there already as fast as they could, and the first officer on the scene slid into the ditch. And at that point, they just called it off and left it all sitting there, said, nope, we're done, and went on. Do not assume you are that most special of snowflakes that's going to be just fine. You can make it through, no problem. Won't hurt a thing to go out and look around. Yes, it will. Just don't is the word to use. Because that stuff is tricky to drive on at best.
It is difficult. It would be an understatement. And the snow part is okay as long as there's a little pack on top of it and you get a little traction. But when it is that icy stuff, and here in the central area, those that will be waking up, if you are required to go to work today, my advice is steer away from the little back roads and things where there's a lot of overhanging trees. I got up real early this morning, took my time getting to work. I had to cross the res and all that. The roads are pretty much in great shape, the ones you travel. There's still going to be a low spot in there with some black ice. Don't be hurrying and don't be slamming on your brakes. And don't be trying to, beat the red light. Just take it easy because there are hidden pieces of ice in there here, even in the central Mississippi area, east of the affected. The temperature was very, very cold this morning. So wherever there was water, there's going to be ice. And just be careful. As the sun comes up, it'll be obviously much easier to see that. But just a little piece of research done this morning. You're not in the clear if you're here in Mississippi in the central area, but you're definitely not going to be dealing with the power outages and things that we saw. But the roads look good to me. But again, I would be very, very careful, especially if you're coming into the metro area from out around and you're taking some of the smaller roads coming in. I do believe they will be affected, and you just need to be careful.
I don't remember the last time we had a storm that had some sort of visible effect for basically the entire state.
Yeah.
They had snow flurries in Hattiesburg last night. Had snow flurries at my house. There were snow flurries down in Louisiana, south of me. That is extremely rare. When we had that event 9 or 10 years ago, it was pretty much just us here in southwest Mississippi. Everybody else was fine. It just trained through in the right spot. It is very rare to see any type of wintry precipitation, damaging or otherwise, for pretty much the entire state. And that's what we had this weekend.
It is. It's. I remember it was 2024. I stayed up here in the office so that we could get the show the next morning done. And it was snowy and icy. And I remember I was needing new tires and they were wobbling real bad and my mudders weren't mudding. So I was like, yeah, I probably ought to go. And obviously they offered to put me up in the hotel next door. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'll just sleep in this palatial office I have. And so I was very happy I didn't have to come up yesterday and do that. And it was something we had talked about, but either way, the show was going to go on this morning because we knew that so many Mississippians were going to be affected by this, and Richard being one of those. And thank goodness we have a Dave Hughes down there in sunny Macomb, Mississippi. When
Not going to go that far, but sure.
What was the temp when you walked in the studio this morning? We were laughing.
50.
Yeah, it was 50 right there. It was off. Came in, I was like, oh man, he's got his hoodie on and everything. I thought we were getting robbed.
I'll give you the visual for those of you on SuperTalk TV. This is what he saw when the camera went live, and I said, "Good morning."
With you were sideways to him, like, are we getting robbed down there?
It felt like it.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, and by the way, if you ever find yourself staying in the building again, I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, that couch in the green room is very comfortable.
Oh yeah, that thing's it's a beauty, man. I wouldn't even want to stretch out on that thing. I'd probably wake up 2 days from now.
Yes.
That was one of those. I sat in the English high back chair back in the bedroom I've had for forever. And it's the old one, the old dark green one with the golf print, the guys, golfing and the ottoman. So, yeah, I'll get a good nap here and there, and for 20 minutes when needed. But yeah, it was, big building like this when you're the only one in it. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a unique experience. I got an example of what I was talking about just a moment ago, about the power outages, one step forward, two step back. Looking at poweroutage.us, it's a fantastic site. It doesn't track everything, but it tracks the majority of power customers. When we were talking about this about a half hour ago, the exact number of outages they had was 157,919. Well, I just refreshed it a few minutes ago, and it was from 919 down to 831. It's like, oh, okay, good. We're getting underway. We're making progress. Now it's back up to 839. You're going to see some of that fluctuation. If we start getting consistent drops, it'll be hidden in that. But that's the other thing I want to make sure that everybody understands. If your power comes back on, that may not be permanent forever and ever. It may go right back out. So if it does come back on, do what you got to do as quickly as you can.
That's a great website too. Definitely worth going and looking at the top. If you're looking at Tippah, Alcorn, and Tishomingo, those are going to be the ones with the most people without power. Tippah's around 9,000 people or more. Alcorn County, almost 14,000. And Tishomingo County, around 11,200. So that is quite a bit of folks that are without power and may be for several days. So if you have people in those counties, just check on them. They're tucked away up there in a beautiful part of the country, but right now it's going to be very impassable.
In terms of number of customers out, Alcorn, Tishomingo, and Tippah are number 2, 3, and 4 on the list.
Yeah.
The one with the most out, Lafayette County, 19,000 people out of the 26,000 tracked do not have power this morning, including our buddy Richard.
Yep, that's 71 to 72% of the residents of Lafayette County. That is substantial, and as we know, a lot of folks have moved in the Oxford or Oxford metro area is probably the right way to say that now. That doesn't discount the other smaller towns around, but the pictures from Oxford, it looked like everyone was without power. I couldn't see how anyone actually had power with what I was seeing. So those 30% that have it are extremely fortunate to be in that situation right now.
Well, I know that some buildings on the campus at Ole Miss do have power.
They have backup generators and such, I'm sure.
Yeah. They've got a warming center set up. They've got things that they're doing, as you would expect from Ole Miss, taking care of people in the area. But it's very spread out, and most of the individual homes, I would suspect, are out in the Oxford metro area, as you called it. One interesting thing about poweroutage.us, by the way, and I fully realize, you know this as well, Lance, there aren't a ton of people that live in Issaquena County.
No.
Yeah. Right over on the river. But it got my attention that it's the reddest county in the state, so I went over and checked it. The outage percentage there is 100%.
Yeah, but they got one customer it's showing out. Yeah, I love
They track one customer,
that's my
and
cabin.
That customer doesn't have power.
Yeah, that's my cabin, I think.
Yeah. But
now everyone's out of power over there from what I could tell. Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone with power.
No, and there's plenty of places like that around the state. When we come back, we'll try to distract you with some good news, talk about winning some money to buy that generator for next time. We'll talk Mississippi Lottery when we return here on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
From the Here you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi. Mornings on a Monday morning. And it's time now to look at some money. One thing, I do want to put this out right up front. We were just talking about this. Makes perfect sense. The Mississippi Lottery headquarters and claim center closed today because of travel conditions, because people come from all over the state. We don't want you thinking, I got this winning ticket. I'm going to run down there since the power's out and everything's shut down and go cash it in. You can't do that. One less reason to get out on the road today if you're in the bad parts of the state. We'll see moving forward how long it will be before they get it back open. Maybe open tomorrow, but they'll update you at mslottery.com and on the Mississippi Lottery social media channels as they make those decisions moving forward. No jackpot winners at all. Lotto America, no jackpot. Estimated jackpot for tonight, $13.82 million. Powerball, no jackpot. Estimated jackpot for tonight, $30 million. Double play. The numbers, 8, 17, 29, 30, 62, and the Powerball was 11. That drawing was on Saturday. Mega Millions, you guessed it, no jackpot. Estimated jackpot for tomorrow night's drawing, $285 million. And Mississippi Match 5, no jackpot. It's now back up to $58,000. However, they've got an interesting stat that they've given us, Lance. Prizes paid last week. Now, I want you to focus on that and remember, this is last week. Over the last 7 days, the amount paid out by the Mississippi Lottery to winners. The Lottery Claims Office paid $1,230,611. Now, as you know, anything, I believe is it over $600? I think it is. I think it's over 600. It might be 700, but I think it's over any prize you win over that amount. You have to go to the lottery office to cash it in. $1.2 million paid out because it was a prize bigger than that. Bigger than the limit. The smaller prizes, let's say you win $100, $200, whatever. That's paid out by the retailer. Last week, retailers paid out $4,993,804. That's $6.2 million won by people playing the Mississippi Lottery last week. That's not the monthly figure. That's not so far this year, which would be the same thing right now. That's in the last 7 days, $6.2 million paid out by the Mississippi Lottery. That's a ton of money.
Man, somebody was running to the bank.
A lot of people were running to the bank, especially those retailers. $4,993,000 paid out in amounts of less than $600 each. That's a lot of winners.
Yeah.
That's a lot of winners. And there are plenty of them out there. Probably the big one was a Match 5 winner in Moss Point. Was someone from Texas City. Bought a ticket for Match 5, won $92,308.62.
You get that in pennies.
I don't know how you're getting it home. But yeah, you could. A Laurel man won $54,000 on the match 5. And a Doddsville woman bought a $5 scratch off in Cleveland. The Gold Bar Bingo ticket won $75,000. That all goes into those figures we were telling you about. $6.2 million paid out last week alone to Mississippi lottery winners. You could be included in this week's group, but you got to go buy a ticket. Now, of course, there's
some caveats with that.
Yeah, large part of the state you can't buy tickets today. It's not your fault though. But everything will be back up to resembling normal soon. And I'm sorry, it's going to be a while for those war zone parts of the state that you were talking about, Lance. It's going to be quite a while before things are back to normal. Step 1 is getting the power back on. Yeah. Then we start the true actual cleanup, which is going to take a minute in some of those areas. Got a long road ahead of us, a lot of work ahead of us, and a lot of pulling together as a community ahead of us as well. That last one will make the rest of it a lot easier, if not possible. So we do need to focus on that. We've got news from Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News. The next hour, Scott Simmons from MEMA is going to join us, and we're going to talk to our buddy Richard, see how he's doing in Oxford in the next 60 minutes of mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Where you come first for news. Fast and free. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Now that I'm starting to learn, I feel I'm growing old, 'cause yesterday's got nothing for me. Oh, pictures that I'll always see. Time to face the pages in my book of memories. Prayers in my pocket, and no hand in destiny. I keep on moving along with no time to plant my feet. 'Cause yesterday.
Welcome back. Mornings on a Monday morning. Super Talk Mississippi. Dave Hughes in for the Trying to Stay Warm Richard Cross in Oxford, Mississippi. We'll be checking in with him at the bottom of the hour, actually. We'll be talking to Richard and see how things are going for him. I mean, honestly, I think we can probably guess how things are going for him.
Yeah.
But it'll be good to get an on-the-ground report of exactly how things are going in Oxford and what the entire weekend was like as far as that moving in and how it went. I mean, obviously not good, but still.
You can just imagine sitting around with no power, no sound really going on, and just hearing trees as far as you can imagine just cracking and popping. I've sat in the Delta in the cabin and listened to that several years ago when we went through one of those storms, and that's what you hear. You just hear stuff breaking because it is absolutely deathly silent.
Yeah, and it sounds like gunshots or cannon fire going off.
One thing I learned during this, and I love sitting outside, especially when inclement weather or thunderstorms and all that. I don't know why. I just always enjoy being outside. But I was testing some hunting gear yesterday to see at what point I was how many layers I needed to put on before. I don't feel any cold. I don't like to be cold. I'm sure you don't either. Nobody likes to be cold. But at what point, what temp do I need 3 layers? Or, so I was kind of keeping my eye on my bird dog. My lab, she loves it. She can lay down in water when it's freezing. Absolutely be over there panting. The bird dog, though, he at a certain temp, it was about 27. He had 2 jackets on, and when I started hearing his teeth chattering, I said, I think it's time to put him inside for a minute. And he was in and out, constantly. He'd get warm and want to come back out. But I can tell you at about 25 degrees, whatever it is, it just goes. I could put on layer after layer, And at some point, it's the toes and the fingers. I tried different combinations, but I even bought a nice set of gloves a couple weeks ago, and I haven't. I mean, they've been, even at 30, they were so warm. You get down to 25, 23, I don't care what you're wearing, you start feeling it. And Jason is in the deer stand this morning, and in Starkville area, he said it just started snowing. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean,
wow.
Who knows what's to come of this, but the temps are going to be cold, wrap up, and if you don't have power, just take care of yourself, because I can tell I'm not one of these cold-natured people where I love to be in the snow and cold unless I've got 88 layers of clothes on. Look like the Michelin Man. But stay warm, yeah.
If I had camera-ready gloves, I'd be wearing them right now, because I am very much the opposite of a cold-loving person myself. Once it drops below 70, I'm done. I'm a wuss when it comes to the cold.
Well, and again, thanks for Dave and Ripley. One of those areas that would have been pretty much shellacked. He gave us a couple picks this morning. As he said, a good old country boy can survive. He's got the grill going, got some ground beef and some onions in there cooking. Front porch site looks like pretty much every limb from every oak tree is laying right there. So I think that's going to be a common sight for a lot of people for the next few days, is just kind of finding a way and being resourceful with what you have. And we champion your cause. Please continue letting us know how it's going out there for you.
Yes, C-Spire text line, 601-879-4395. Everybody, text in. Let us know how you're doing. Even if you're just going to drop us a note and say, hey, made it through.
Doing okay. Yeah, thank you.
Man, I'm cold. Yeah, whatever. That's fine. We're not looking for anything specific. We just want to hear from you, because we care about you, and we want to know how it's going in your part of Mississippi.
You remember, what was it 21 when it hit? January 21st of last year. Ray sent a picture in from Long Beach, where you remember the snow on the actual beach. I mean, we've had it hit every angle from 2024, 2025, 2026. I know you can go back to 2014 to the one that was a doozy. But I remember 24 and 25, and this is one that you'll look back on eventually and go, wow, what a doozy. But, I want to mention, there's people that are going to have babies during this.
Yes.
There are people that are going to need to get to the hospitals. There are people that need medications, and we're not out of the clear. But it just puts into perspective all of those things that maybe we're not going through personally. Others are going to be dealing with life, things that don't stop. And those mothers out there that we're looking at tomorrow as the delivery date, and then you got birthdays and all these things. It's just, my thoughts and my heart are with you, because I know this is not an easy time, but it will pass, and you'll look back on this and be the better for it, hopefully.
Well, and one thing I do want to point out for those that just recently had a baby, they got a little tiny one at home.
Good point.
You know what formula does? Freezes.
Yeah.
There are a lot of challenges, and it's such a wide and varied list of challenges that people have to deal with in this kind of situation. So keep them all in mind, because I guarantee you, if you think you know everything that someone could be going through right now, you don't.
Well, and Mose is heading out to check on the calves and check on the cows. It's 21 degrees, but he's got some good insulated coveralls on, and they're good to below zero. So, Mose, let me know what you're wearing, brother. Anything below zero, good too. That's the kind of stuff I need to know about. Another one here with checked on the bird dogs this morning. Everybody's looking good, and said I don't know how they do it so well. Plenty of hay, but that's the stuff now. I mean, I'm both of my cats. It's funny, they never want in, but both of them kind of prepared. I mean, cats and dogs know something's coming. And, I mean, it was so funny watching the two orange cats that hate each other most of the time cuddle up around the fire for the last 3 days waiting for what was coming. And this morning I wake up and Butterscotch is all jacked up and ready to go. And he looks like Garfield. And he was just meow, 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 following me all the way around. But he still wouldn't, when I opened the door, he looked out there and went, nah, it's not time yet. So
we have small dogs. Mm-hmm. We opened the door last night to let them out into the yard to, take care of various small dog related pieces of business. And every one of them got all excited. They're jumping around because we're opening the door. They took 2 steps out on the back deck and said, nope, 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 and turned around and tried to go right back in. I was with them. I was also standing at the door, hopping around, going, "Open it back up."
Their dogs are so funny. I mean, and just your pets in general. One of our listeners from the 601, blanket on the horse. He won't stay in the barn. He's out eating ryegrass in the pasture. You know, animals are resilient like that. And as Paul and Hernando said, there'll be a bunch of babies named Fern.
Oh man! Oh, don't
bring
Paul,
it back, huh?
Paul, don't get me started on why we decided to start naming winter storms.
Well, Jason makes a good point. And in 9 months, they will all be having babies instead of fishing.
Yes.
They'll all be locked down together, for the better part of a week or so.
Let me just say, you got to do something to stay warm.
The wind is the worst part in Summit, Mississippi. That's down in your neck of the woods.
Yes, it is. I'm in Summit right now, and they are not lying. They're not wrong. Wind chill right now, I think, is 10 here in Summit. That's more than enough. Thank you.
Kevin
we'll do without it.
Kevin in Tupelo said the west side of Tupelo to the south is okay. Some of the streets still had a bit of ice, but nothing major. Luckily, we did not lose power. And again, Tupelo was in one of those. It's kind of like Rankin County. You almost kind of just got lucky. The wind never really picked up and pushed harder. Because there is a dividing line there as you keep going. You look at that power outage map, and it is extremely telling as to almost exactly down to where it was almost county lines. You know, it really was. I've never seen anything so I don't know the right word, but selective almost.
Just to your example, Hinds County. 4,600 people without power. Mm-hmm. Madison County, 2,700 people without power. Rankin County, 15.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and we have Brent from Caledonia said he's heading into the car lot and trying to sell some cars this morning at 19 degrees. Yeah. No test drives today, though, huh? Not top down.
There will not be arguments over whose up it is. It's not going to. He's laughing. He gets that. Yeah. Everybody's going to be standing inside with their coffee, going, "No, I'm pretty sure you need to get this one, don't you?" Well,
Mo's updated me. It's a Bern product, Berne. So if you're looking to order something out there, they look excellent. Proven by Mo's down to 0 or below. So that's your coveralls if you're looking for some.
And I will say, Mo's, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a better prepared human being on planet Earth for anything that happens.
Take his word for it. Yeah.
Listen to what the man tells you. He knows his stuff. When we come back, a little short visit because he's very, very busy right now with Scott Simmons from Mississippi Emergency Management. Get a bit of a statewide update from him when we return on Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on Super Talk Mississippi.
I'm paying for last night's drowning memories again. I stumbled to the bathroom looking for some aspirin. Had an empty box of Kotex reminds me we're through. I'm at the breakfast table trying on solutions, putting bellies in my coffee, vodka in my juice.
Welcome back. Super Talk Mississippi Mornings presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. Go there for more information. And this is going to be a busy day for a lot of people in Mississippi, including and especially the guy joining us now. We talked to him Friday. He is the Chief Communications Officer for Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. Scott Simmons joins us. How you doing this morning, Scott?
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Doing a lot better than a lot of other people. I have no room to complain about anything this morning. Give us kind of a 1,000-yard view from the air. What are we looking at in the state of Mississippi this morning?
We're looking forward to today simply because of sunshine or light, so that we can get better eyes on what has happened across our state. We're looking at 157,000 plus as of 5 this morning that are still without power. Lafayette County, of course, hit the hardest. They're at 19,000 without power. We were talking about 48 counties impacted by this storm, 37, I think, dealing with ice damage of some sort or fashion, 30 cities or municipalities across the state that have been impacted by this winter storm. A lot going on MEMA's side, and with the federal declaration being approved over the weekend, with Governor Reeves pushing the button on that one, it is moving federal resources as we speak. We're expecting FEMA to start arriving, I believe, today, and their supplies, more importantly, have already started moving, and this is going to provide us more opportunities to get extra materials out to these warming centers, long-term care facilities, and such.
Well, and those warming centers are all important for large portions of the state because the sun may be coming out, but the temperature is not going up very quickly.
What's on the ground, and unfortunately, what's on the trees and power lines is not going anywhere. That ice will continue to weigh and place stress on those things, and that will cause a cascade effect, I think, on some more power outages to come. But line crews will be able to get a better view, a safer view, as they start moving into these areas and, correcting these lines. For us, the challenge has been we've brought in 30 additional generators, multiple sizes, big generators, mediums, not your 3,500 watt ones, mind you. These are going to be going to primary long-term care facilities. They're going to go to nursing homes, hospitals that have had backup generator failure or do not have a way to keep those large space areas warmed up. And that's the battle right now, is getting additional cots. We've got cots coming in, and we've got additional blankets that we're going to those facilities. The generators are going to facilities, not to people. Some people have actually called asking where they're going to get their free generator, and I'm sorry, that's not how this is going to work. We're trying to get it to facilities that are taking care of a large amount of people and trying to get as much comfort to those people who have lost their homes or have no power whatsoever or a way to get warm.
Is there anything in place, and I'm sure there is, because the generators are great and really needed, but those generators take fuel of some kind. Is there going to be something in place to help people in areas where there may not be a local option to get fuel to keep those things running?
What we do know is we're coordinating now with our retailers, gas distributors, through our Business Emergency Operations Center. There's not a shortage of fuel. The challenge is only getting those stations that need power to operate the pumps. We're going to be staging out of Camp McCain, where we'll be distributing from that location those generators and things like that. And with those generator teams, Director McCraney talked about this yesterday evening, how we're going to have a 5-man team from the Army Corps of Engineers traveling with those generators. When one's delivered to a nursing home, that team will be there to properly install it, properly ground it, make sure it's going to run and keep operating throughout this remaining cold event. The fuel situation, again, is impacted by energy, power, going to those stations, but we don't have any self-operated gas stations in operation yet.
Well, and, you talk about the power. That's probably the biggest concern out of all this. There's a lot of other cleanup that has to be done we can talk about in a second. But first things first, and that's to get the heat back on for everyone. And we do know that in some parts of the state, the main transmission lines had problems and in some cases came down. So even if they get the wires back up in your neighborhood, for example, that doesn't mean the power is going to come on. Everybody has to be patient, right?
Correct. In that north quarter, of course, of our state, there were some transmission line issues, but they were not only transmission line issues, say from TVA, for example. There are cascading effects from the storms, and you're right. Those guys, and those men and women, I should say, have been working diligently because they want the power back on, but they've got to start at one point, correct that problem, and then go to the next one down the line so they get to more people. And that's the challenge at hand, and has been for our energy providers. Again, the blessing of today is that we'll have sunshine, so at least they'll have better eyes on it. But it will not be melting. What's on the ground, what's on the roads right now, is going to stay there until we get some temperature change around the mid part of the week.
And then, of course, the temperature is going to crash right back down again next weekend, but we'll worry about that when we get there, Scott. I did mention there's additional cleanup, and a lot of that, most of that, as far as damage, trees down, tree limbs down, power poles down, that'll be corrected somewhat as they're going through the process of fixing the power. There's a massive amount of cleanup that's going to happen after this as well, isn't there?
Yeah, and one of the advantages of the presidential declaration is it helps offset the cost for counties. You know, you talk about spending $10 million for a county, and that could be a budget breaker. The advantage with the declaration is that it's going to give them the confidence to go out and contract and get this debris off the ground and start collecting it and getting reimbursed for up to 75% of their costs. That's a big help in dealing with a disaster like this. First things first, of course, getting the power lines up. We got crews that'll be out and have been out cutting trees and opening roadways. MDOT has been working around the clock, prioritizing those main thoroughfares and roads to get supplies and goods to places where they're needed. We know that north portion of the state right now needs access so they can get the help it needs.
Well, and this is what I refer to as the rolling part of the disaster. This is not going to be fixed today, is it?
No, I wish I could wave a magic Hogwarts wand and fix it. I really do. But that's not going to be the case. This is going to be an evolution. We look at the March storms that happened, and we were 4, 5, 6 months out before wrapping up the cleanup on that. Hopefully, in this particular case, it won't be that catastrophic, but they're comparing this ice storm to the one we had in '94. This one being bigger. And so we are measuring as we go along, but the financial impact of this, yeah, way up there, 60, 70, 80 million, maybe more. That's what we're going to be working on as we assess damage reports and get the repairs done.
Well, I don't remember the last time that we had a winter weather event that had some kind of impact on the entire state of Mississippi. Usually it's fairly localized, but we had snow flurries in Hattiesburg last night. I mean, it's the entire state.
Snow last year on the coast, for heaven's sakes. You go back, I think it was 21, that big ice storm that rocked the central part of the state. It's a moving target, and we're blessed that we did not have more damage. We're hopeful that we'll be able to start getting some traction and gaining some ground on repairs and restoration in the days to come.
Well, that's all we can do is stay home and stay out of everybody's way that's out there working to get this back straight. Aside from don't get out there and be part of the problem, any other advice for the people of Mississippi, Scott?
Check on your neighbors. We're still doing assessments, and as the county emergency management directors and agency workers, they're the tip of the spear. They're out trying to get a gauge of their damage so that we can pass that information and manage it. That's the challenge. If you don't have to be out, especially in our northern portions of the state that are hit so hard, try not to drive. But do try and check, if you can, on your vulnerable neighbors, your senior citizens. This is an ongoing process, several days before I think we'll start getting some real good traction. But we're getting traction now in that we're getting supplies in. We're getting things in to get these warming centers operational, opening more. There's 57 safe rooms right now that are open just to take residents in so they can stay warm. So we need folks to offer a prayer and be smart as we move through these next couple of days.
Scott Simmons with Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. Appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us. Keep up the good work and keep us updated, okay?
Thanks so much.
When we come back, it's Richard's turn to be interviewed. Richard Cross joins us from Oxford on mornings, once again, with Richard Cross, right after this on SuperTalk Mississippi.
From the Seabrook
segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
From the heart of Mississippi to the halls of Washington, D.C., this is Mornings with Richard Cross, your source for hard-hitting political insight and unfiltered truth. Now, here's more on SuperTalk Mississippi.
When illusions in a net, I'm never where I wanna be, and liberty she pirouette. When I think that I am free, watch my empty silhouette.
Welcome back, Mornings on SuperTalk Mississippi, and now I get to truthfully call it Mornings with Richard Cross, because joining us from Oxford, our buddy Richard Cross might as well be on the porch. I mean, it's as warm there as anywhere right now, right, Richard? How you doing, man?
Dave, first of all, thank you so very much for sitting in, for filling in. It's nasty here. Everybody's cold, but I think most everybody is warm enough to get through the nights. And man, there is a lot of work ahead for utility workers, the linemen, the first responders. It's a mess. There is a beauty to it this morning when you see the ice in the trees and the sun has popped out, and it's going to stay cold, and it's going to take a little while for progress.
Well, that's what I was afraid of, and we've heard it and we've seen the pictures, but that is very different from actually living in it and living through it. And the first thing I wanted to talk about with you was walk us through the weekend as this was moving in and how that experience went and how it was.
I think you can even go back to early last week. Lance and I talked some on Monday, Tuesday, just kind of looking at the forecast, like, hey, this is out there, and forecasters are saying it's too early to really lock in on what the model is. But early in the week last week, the forecast was for Oxford at least 6 to 12 inches of snow. And then I think it was about Wednesday when most of the forecasters kind of zeroed in on that model that was shifting north. Lance joked about the European model that he had known nothing about prior to last week, and all of a sudden was pretty studied up on that. But it shifted a little north, and it left much of North Mississippi in a band that looked like it was going to be a lot of ice. And so as you got to Thursday, I think people were starting to take it fairly seriously, and you started to hear the conversation about, hey, what do we need to do in terms of drinking water? Do you have a generator? Is there a backup generator? The hardware stores started getting cleaned out, and everybody really kind of went into preparation mode. Then you get to Friday night, which is originally when this was forecast to kind of begin, and nothing happened. And it had the models had adjusted a little bit, and it looked like it was going to be early Saturday morning. But people were like, well, this might not be so bad. And then even Saturday morning, once it started, it was like, okay, there's some sleet. And, hey, if this is the worst of it, maybe not so bad. Road conditions weren't too bad. There were no trees down. It was about 11:15 Saturday night when we lost power. And I think most people somewhere between 11 o'clock and about 6 a.m. Sunday morning had their power go out. And Saturday afternoon is when it transitioned from sleet and ice and maybe a few snow flurries mixed in to legitimate rain that was freezing on every single surface that it touched. And when you talk about freezing rain, there's like, oh, well, there's a glaze on the limbs. No, this is thick. I don't know if you can, I'll try to back out so you can see a little bit if you're watching on SuperTalk TV, but we've got two, I guess they're pin oak trees in our front yard, and see, I mean, it's just every single branch has got, half, 3/4 an inch of ice on it. And it's like that on every surface. Boxwoods, every leaf is covered. And so from our company in Mississippi, and we did last week as well. Sorry, I know the video froze up there for a second. When you look at what that does to power lines, It's twofold, right? It's the weight on the line that starts to have it sag, and the weight of the ice-covered tree limb coming down that creates a pretty untenable situation.
Well, from the pictures that we've seen, this is not going to be an easy thing to work out of. You will, obviously, that's going to happen, but it's not going to happen very rapidly for you guys, is it?
No, it's not. And patience gets really difficult. I mean, folks pray that prayer, Lord, give me patience and give it to me now. That is hard to do sometimes. But, there's the neighbors helping neighbors thing. I think in most neighborhoods you have people that are trying to come together and make sure everybody's got the food they need, or, water to drink, or, if there's a generator, hey, do you need to come warm up for a little while, or sharing firewood, or I had a neighbor yesterday, a buddy of mine that lives down the street. About 7 o'clock yesterday morning, I heard kind of some grinding. I was like, wait, they don't have somebody out cleaning the streets already. A buddy of mine had a blade on the front of his four-wheeler, and he was working on clearing the streets. And I pulled him over. I was like, where did you get that? Like, why do you have a blade on a six-wheel four-wheeler? And he said, when we got a year ago, I thought, man, I sure would like to have that. That might come in handy one day. He said it had been in the box in his shop for a year. And last week he's like, maybe I ought to install that thing on the four-wheeler just in case. And so you got that. I saw a group of guys that were working to cut down a tree, or cut apart a tree that was down across the road because there was an ambulance that needed to get through. And city workers can't do everything. Obviously, you got to be incredibly careful if you're working around down trees or down power lines. I know our officials don't recommend that, and I'm not necessarily recommending it. But it takes a lot of hands to get out of something like this. And if you're just waiting for city workers or power companies to do all of that work on their own, it's going to take a long time.
Well, and as you said, you were talking about the weight of the trees, and I've been watching the power outages, and right now on poweroutage.us, the number is still going up in the state of Mississippi, because we still have, you showed us your trees out in the front yard. Holy cow. There are still limbs breaking off. There are still lines that are being taken down. So it's kind of a one step forward, two step back situation for a lot of the power companies, I would think.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And this is only anecdotal, Dave. 2 nights ago, well, let's see, not last night, night before. So Sunday night into Monday morning, when the power went out at 11:15, I had a generator that I had not assembled. And so I went out in the driveway and did that. And I actually got out and inadvisably rode around town a little while just to kind of see who had power, who didn't, what was going on. Reporting, right? Trying to make sure that all of the people had the news that they needed. I got in bed about 2 o'clock, and I had buddies that we were all texting. And it's like, that's not what we do at 2 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's asleep. And lying in bed, it sounded like a war, right? You could hear the trees cracking. You could hear, it sounded like gunshots. I didn't hear as much of that last night. In fact, very little of it. I don't know if it's because I was exhausted and I just fell asleep, but there was no sleep the night before. So hopefully, and I know the temperature's not going to rise today, but with the sun out and bright, some of the ice will melt and maybe some of the weight will be lifted. You're absolutely right. There are some branches that are still going to come down, and there will be progress that is undone, maybe lines that are restored where power goes out again because a new limb falls on a line. Hopefully that is not the norm, though.
Well, we can certainly hope so. And, of course, we're talking to you about Oxford, which Lafayette County, the hardest hit in the state just in terms of power outage. But there is a wide swath of the state that is in a very similar situation to what you guys are experiencing in the Oxford area. That's why we were talking to Scott Simmons right before we got on with you. 48 counties out of the 82 in Mississippi affected by this ice storm as it came through to some extent or the other. 48 counties. That's a big chunk of Mississippi that's going to have to dig out of this hole that we're in now.
I'm not a mathematician, but I think that's over half. I think 48 is more than half of 82. So it really is an incredible storm. But you take it beyond Mississippi, Dave, and what did I read yesterday? 240 million people in the United States affected one way or the other. And I think it was nearly 40 states that had some effect from this. So this is a big one, and hopefully we get a break on the backside of it. I know the farther south you go in the state, the warmer it's going to get, even though it's not going to be balmy by any stretch of the imagination. But so many comparisons to 1994 and the really big ice storm that came through then. The thing that I remember about that on the backside of it, it warmed up pretty quickly. I mean, a week later we had temperatures that were in the 70s. I don't know if we're going to get there that quickly. The forecast looks like it's going to stay pretty chilly for a while. So it is going to take a ton of patience, and those text messages that you're in a group with where everybody's asking, hey, have you got power? The answer, I think, is going to continue to be no for a few more days for most people. Hopefully not, but it feels that way.
Richard Cross in Oxford from the frozen tundra. It's like you're playing in Green Bay today. Can you stick around and talk a little bit more?
Absolutely.
Richard Cross will continue with him on his show. Might I add, he can have the whole thing if he wants to. I'll just sit here and ringmaster the whole thing as we continue with Mornings with Richard Cross here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
It's time to get real.
Keeping it real.
It's time for you to get real with it.
And keeping it Mississippi. Your voice for statewide and national politics. Yes! Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. During the break, Lance went and checked. It's snowing at the home office, Richard, so it's not over yet.
You can have it. We will leave it with you for a little. Although, I mean, you want to talk about a massive difference in snow and ice or freezing rain. It's like you understand how some of the people that live in the more northern climates deal with it, because it doesn't completely change the way of life when you get 8 inches of snow or a foot of snow. But a couple of inches of ice, there are a lot of people that I think in the north like to give Southerners a hard time. I don't think where you live matters on this stuff if this is what you get.
Well, my wife actually lived in northern Michigan for about a decade.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You too?
No, I wasn't with her at that point, thank heavens. I have been up there with her a time or two. Do what?
Was she Upper Peninsula?
Yes. Oh, wow. She dealt with all the stuff. I actually went up there with her. We were having a grandchild being born, and we went in November to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. So yeah, I've seen the snow. I've seen all, and there is a huge difference between the snow and the ice. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Well, and I think I've gotten to the point, and maybe this is age. I've gotten to the point where I want to go to the snow. I don't want the snow to come to me. Like I'm good with the cold weather when you're kind of geared up for it. You know, if you're going to go skiing or you want to go hiking in the mountains and there's stuff, all that's great. All that's great. I don't need it here. We're good with the more moderate climate.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I tell people all the time when I complain about weather like this, I'm like, look, I live in Mississippi for a reason, because we don't have to deal with this all the time. You know, I can't imagine having to deal with this 24/7. I saw the notification that they had to do it, but it seems like an unnecessary notice that the Oxford School District put out that they're closed this week. We kind of probably could have figured out that everything in Oxford is closed right now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, and they were preemptive. So on Friday, I think it was of last week, they said, hey, we'll be closed on Monday, just kind of in preparation for whatever it is that's coming. And that's what most of the schools did. It's what the university did. I think Ole Miss announced, unless they have updated it, that they were going to be closed through what is today? Today's Monday, through tomorrow, and then we're going to reevaluate. My guess is that Ole Miss will be closed for a little longer as well. But when you start thinking about the buses having to run, there's just no way to do it. Hopefully it will just be this week, and there will be enough progress over the next few days and through the weekend that schools will be able to get back in for the start of next week. But 100% the right decision.
Well, and that does bring up, talking about buses running, it's also quite hard to get ambulances and first responders to people. That's why you have to live a little more carefully than you normally would during a time like this, because help is going to be a little bit longer getting there, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mentioned that yesterday. So we live about a mile from campus, right off of Jackson Avenue, and College Hill Road is one of the road. Well, I guess it's Old Sardis Road, and then you turn off onto College Hill Road. But that's one of the areas that heavily wooded. It's beautiful, right? I mean, when the trees are got leaves on them and everything's in bloom, it's kind of a gorgeous canopy road. But in a time like this, there are a lot of trees that were down, and I was kind of navigating through that yesterday, and I came up on, there was 3 guys that were running chainsaws and kind of tried to jump out and help them clear that so that an ambulance could get through. Now, in that situation, they told us it wasn't like a life-threatening emergency. It was someone who had a machine of some sort. I don't know if it was an oxygen machine or a dialysis machine that was not working properly. And so they were trying to get to them, but it was just an example of, hey, there are not a lot of routes right now. And so people are trying to pitch in and help and do the best they can, but it's slower than normally it would be.
Well, as you're there in the middle of this, these kind of things really focus your mind on the stuff that we take for granted day to day. If you have an emergency, well, help is just a couple of minutes away. You start taking that and a lot of other stuff for granted too, don't you?
You know, it's possible, Dave, that the people of the 17 and 1800s were a little tougher than we were. You know, I mean, you know, wood burning stove. I mean, so many people are surviving on gas heat, and thanks to the gas companies for making sure that that's all working the way that it's supposed to. But I mean, good grief. The first thing you did in the morning was load up the wood stove again after it kept you warm through the night and didn't have heat throughout the house. We were sitting around in the dark last night, and we do have a generator, thankfully. And Jane said, should we plug in a lamp? I was like, yeah, that actually would be a good idea. We were just kind of sitting there in the dark, had the fireplace going, and had dinner, and we flipped the lamp on, and I was like, well, that was stupid. We should have done that a long time ago. But it completely changed the way that it felt, even though you didn't have the TV going or whatever else. Just having a little bit of light made a big difference. So hope everybody stays safe. By the way, when it warms up, maybe we should go to an outdoor studio for mornings on a normal basis.
Yes.
Kind of nice. Just a little cold.
You know, I won't be back when you do that. I won't be here for that, Richard.
Oh, if it's 70 and sunny or 80 and sunny, it wouldn't be so bad.
Situationally, it'd be great. Just in general, I don't know. There are days like this that I wouldn't be on board with that. Richard Cross, take care of yourself, sir. And it sounds.
From breaking news to bold opinions, Richard dives into the stories shaping Mississippi and the nation. Now back to Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
My bros.
Welcome back. Hour number 2. Well, number 3. Why? This morning has flown by here on Mornings. Super Talk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here. And joining us now, someone whose phone is ringing off the hook, I have no doubt, with the Tennessee Valley Authority, Julia Wise joins us. Julia, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Dave. Thank you so much. I feel very lucky I'm warm. So I feel blessed this morning, and my heart and prayers go out to all those who are without power and cold and have had damage. So I'm feeling lucky this morning, I'll tell you that.
Well, I wasn't going to point out that the lights are on behind you, but that is a good thing for you, definitely. And hopefully it won't be long before everybody else can say the same thing once again. But it's going to take a minute, isn't it?
It is, yes. I heard your guest this morning, and it's not news that we're still seeing a lot of outages across the state, that ICE did something to our system. So, the good news is that our bulk electric system, our bulk power system is still reliable and stable, but we do have some transmission issues across the state. So it is going to take some time to get those transmission lines back up. We did make some progress yesterday, but we're still seeing ice on the roads. Our first priority is ensuring that we can do things safely. So ensuring that our folks can get out there, the brave line workers can get out there and address those issues. But again, the roads are still icy and we're still facing those freezing temperatures. So, again, a little progress, but we still have some work to do. And then even once those transmission lines are fixed, you have to ensure that our local power companies who we partner with can accept that power on their end. So it's not like you can fix the transmission line and then everything's back. It's going to take that twofold of ensuring that our local power companies, are able to take that power. So it's going to be a progress.
In a perfect situation, if there was no ice on the roads and everything was sunny and beautiful and 70 degrees outside, it would still be a significant amount of work to get the transmission lines back up and going, wouldn't it?
That's right. Yes. It's, you see your local distribution pole can take anywhere from 3 to 6 hours to get it up a transmission line. It takes a little bit longer than that, but we work with just the best people, the best folks who are trained to do this. So they work as safely and fast as possible. At some point today, we'll be flying the lines with drones and helicopters to see which areas still need to be addressed, what needs to be the priority. So, we're doing everything we can as safely and fast as possible.
Well, and that you keep mentioning safety, and with very good reason, because when you're dealing with something like power lines, regular power lines on your street in your neighborhood, that's dangerous, that's lethal. When you're dealing with transmission lines, that's a whole different category.
Yes, it is. That's way higher voltage than you get with your distribution line outside of your home or down the street. So that is a whole other ballgame. But again, we work with the best trained folks. So this is what they do. This is what they train for. So they're ready, and they have been ready, before the storm even hit. So we've had crews working around the clock as safely as they can to address any potential issues, and then once the storm hit, any issues that they saw after that.
Now, of course, there is only one state in America that has more people without power right now than Mississippi, and that's Tennessee. So you're still on the hook for that. You guys have your plate full right now.
We do. That is for sure, especially around Davidson County. That Nashville area was hit pretty hard, Middle Tennessee. So, again, we work with the best. We are huge. We cover 7 states, so we do have a pretty good team, but we also work with just the most incredible power companies across our 7-state region, 153 local power companies. So we're not in it alone. We are partnering with them to ensure that we get our system back up as safely and quickly as possible.
Well, this doesn't necessarily tie into you, but I'm saying this to lead into a question. Up in Tippah County, the Tippah County Electric System issued a release yesterday and said they were looking at weeks instead of days to get power back on for everybody in the area. Are we looking at days or weeks for a majority, not everybody, but just a majority of people in Mississippi, do you think?
No, that's a great question. And then, I do want to keep in mind that once we are able to do what we can to get our transmission lines back up, it still takes time for that local power company to get their distribution lines back up. And so I can't speak to how long that distribution system will take. Again, our crews are working as quickly and fast as possible, but I can't make that specific determination of how many days, considering, we do our part, and then we also have to allow those distribution workers to do their part as well.
Well, talking about the local distribution workers, does it provide more of a challenge for them to repair lines when there is no power coming down the transmission line? It's just dead no matter what they do. Will that become a little bit easier to deal with once the power is back on from the source?
That's a great question. Typically the transmission line would go to that substation and the substation to that distribution system. So, I think they all do it safely. They make sure that, they call switching orders, making sure that everything is safe to work on. So, I don't know if it's a chicken or egg situation, but I know that everyone's doing the best they can. And I just have to hand it to our line workers, both, TVA's line workers and then our local power companies. It is cold out there. And those folks are not batting an eye to get out there in these elements and do what they can. And that is not an easy thing to do. I am sure they'd much rather be home with their families, but they are just doing the best work possible. And I cannot thank them enough for what they do.
Well, and that's the case no matter what kind of emergency we have, no matter what kind of problem we have. Everybody focuses on a lot of other people, emergency management and law enforcement and medical services. But the line crews out there, number one, they are risking their life to get your lights back on. And number two, like you said, they're working long days, basically can to can't. They are working all day until they can't see anymore. They deserve, I think, a lot more credit than they get sometimes.
I could not agree more. And it's not, it is hot weather, cold weather. You think post-hurricanes, they do it all and they don't question it. They don't say, I don't want to go to work today. So I think that we need to give them all the credit because, to your point, they risk their lives every day. It doesn't matter the weather, doesn't matter the situation. And I cannot thank them enough. We really take for granted how easy it is for us to turn our lights on, to turn our coffee machine on. And there is so much work from generation to transmission to distribution to get that light turned on. And everyone from generation to transmission to distribution deserves all that credit.
Well, we currently have roughly around 158,000 people without power in Mississippi. To put that in perspective, Tennessee Valley Authority provides electricity for around 10 million, I think it is?
That's right.
That's a lot of people that you have to manage, and there are problems, like you said. How many states is it that you guys cover? Seven states. I would suspect you probably have problems in all 7 of those states to one extent or another right now, don't you?
We do, yeah, for sure. We have outages in all 7 states. It is pretty concentrated in Tennessee and Mississippi. They have received the brunt of those outages. But yes, there are issues. That storm was massive and really covered our 7-state territory. So we had ice, snow, sleet, cold temperatures in all 7 states. So again, we work with the best. They're out there working with the best local power companies, doing all that they can to get everyone warm and back up as quickly as possible.
Well, they're doing a fantastic job already, whether it's hours, days, or weeks before your lights come on. They will come on. That's the thing you have to focus on and remember. Don't focus so much on the time. Let it be a happy surprise when all of a sudden you hear that sound and you realize, oh, everything's working again. This is great because
that's right.
We will eventually get there. Now, we're coming up on a break in a second. Can you stick around through the break? Because I'd love to get your information, anything you've got as far as tips and tricks for people to stay warm and to deal with this until the power comes back on. Because, again, plan for the worst, hope for the best. Assume it's going to be out all week and make your necessary preparations, and then hopefully it'll be back on this afternoon. I'm not saying it will,
That's
but
right.
That would be nice if it did, but not so much. By the way, Julia, it's snowing at our main studios in Jackson, Mississippi right now. You still getting anything there?
Where I'm sitting, I can't see the window, so it may be snowing where I am, but I'll have to, maybe during the break I can take a peek out the window and see what's going on outside.
Well, to be perfectly honest, we're all sick of it, so if you could take care of that and make that stop, that'd be great.
I'll work on the weather during the break.
Thank you. That way, you got like 4 minutes. That's all the time you need. Julia Wise with Tennessee Valley Authority. We'll continue with her when we come back on SuperTalk Mississippi and Mornings.
The Venable
Mornings with Richard Cross.
On with the show
Is back.
Holy smokes
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
SuperTalk Mississippi mornings presented by the folks at Community Bank, rooted in our community. CommunityBank.net is where you can go to find out more. During the break, I got the most unhelpful phone notification of my life. It said temperatures may be below normal tonight. Well, thank you. Nobody knew that. That was so helpful, you know. But that does lead right into what I wanted to talk to you about. The freezing rain and the ice problem has eased up. That doesn't mean it's going to get warm. We still have some days people need to get through with temperatures well below freezing. Do you have any tips or tricks you can give people to try to deal with this?
I do. So, well, first of all, you know, I think the one thing about Mississippi being called a hospitality state, we truly rise to the occasion when we face situations like this. So check on your friends and neighbors, invite folks in if they don't have power, open your doors, which again, I think that Mississippians handle situations like this, you know, the best. So be sure to keep doing that. If you do have power, lower your temperatures a bit in the house to where you're comfortable. Not only will that help any potential strain on the electric system, but that could also help with your power bill, and who doesn't like that? Now that we're, hopefully we'll be seeing some sunshine in the next few days, open those windows, let that light shine in. I know it doesn't seem like it, but that will help a bit to help keep that house warm. Another thing about safety, we have received notifications that there are spam texts going on, impersonating TVA about outages. So do not click on any text that you think is from TVA. That is not how we would communicate with folks. So be sure to continue to check our social media, check our website, do things like that. But, please do not click on a text message that is from TVA. I think there are other utilities, I believe in Texas, that were having similar issues. So just please be safe about that as well.
There is absolutely no disaster, no horrible situation that there's not some jerk out there ready to try to take advantage of it and take advantage of you when you're your most vulnerable. That is just, it's not surprising. It's just amazing to me that we have that, Julia.
Yes, I know. It's incredibly disappointing. And to your point, when folks are the most vulnerable, so anxious to get any sort of update or message. And so without even thinking, clicking on that. So please do not do that. Again, TVA will not text you. So just if you need updates from TVA, check our social media, check your local power company's social media. Just be very cautious about the text that you receive.
Yes, because you guys will put things out through very obviously official channels. And when you put something out, it's for a large group of people. It wouldn't honestly be practical to send out text messages to everybody affected when something like that happens, would it?
Right. No, it would not make sense. I don't know if we have the manpower for that. So no. But just, make sure you're being smart and safe. And again, I know folks are tired and cold, but just pause a moment before clicking on anything that you receive.
One thing that I did want to mention, and you're a good person to ask about this, those folks that do have a generator, it's a bit late to call the electrician out, but there's a right way and a wrong way to hook a generator into your house electrical system that could be deadly for linemen, right?
Yes, absolutely. So if you do get a generator, maybe the situation will inspire you to make that purchase for your home. Work with a local technician, work with a professional to get that hooked up. I know, including me, we all get kind of a little confident around our house, like I could do that. But no, if you don't connect it correctly, it could cause issues on the other side of our system and can be very harmful for a line worker who was working on that section of the line. So please just, if you're gonna make that purchase, take that extra step to get a professional to install it for you.
And of course, if you have a generator, make sure it's properly ventilated. Don't run it in the den. Yes. I know someone who actually did that. That's why I always use that example. Set the generator down. It's a little 3,000, 3,500 watt generator. Just set it up in the den, cranked it up, and wondered why they were getting lightheaded. That's the problem that we run into.
Yes. And, my sister had an issue where someone installed it. She was living in an apartment downstairs and she had her window open. And she was, all those fumes are coming into her window. So just be very thoughtful and mindful about where you put it. Thank you, Dave. That's a great point. But then also take that extra step and get the right person, that engineer, that contractor, whoever, to come and do it safely and properly for their lives and for your own.
Now, I assume that your technicians, your crews, are working, as I referred to it, from can to can't. Can see, can't see anymore. And the entire time in between, they're working to get the power back on. So if you feel like it's taking a long time, it's taking the minimum amount of time it's going to take, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. As we keep saying it is still cold out there. Those roads, unfortunately, have not cleared up as much as we would like. That sun, that temperature needs to go up a little bit more for that ice to start melting on the road. So our folks are doing all that they can to safely get to those lines, but we need to ensure the safety of our workers, our local power companies workers, and then, obviously the community as well. So I know folks on this show earlier have talked about staying off the roads if you don't have to go anywhere, and making sure the streets stay clear, don't cause extra traffic or situations that would pull resources away from, folks being able to get to these issues. So just be thoughtful and mindful about that.
A crew member up in a bucket on a bucket truck that had to carefully navigate to get there to begin with on a slippery road. The last thing they want to see while they're in that bucket is somebody coming down the road. That is not going to allow them to focus on what they're supposed to be doing.
Right. Right. And I know that our crews, as well as our local power and company crews, they do everything safely. They have spotters. They make a work area, but still, to your point, let's give everyone space that they need, allow them to do their work safely, and be able to focus on the task at hand. So the number one goal at the end of the day is that everyone returns home safely. And that includes us. So, let's make sure everyone keeps safety in mind as we continue to navigate these next few days.
Well, just to sum it up, once again, it's going to take as long as it takes. It will not take any longer because everybody is working nonstop on this, even though we would all like it to be done now. I would like it to be done now, and I don't have the problem, and I'm still ready for it to be done for everyone. But it's going to take a moment to get there. Do you think we'll see a jump in progress once we do get some sunshine and a little bit warmer temperatures?
Yes, I'm sure we will. I think being able to safely access these points, being able to not deal with the ice, the tree, once we get all the trees cleared out. So I'm sure that, as it warms up, as the ice starts to melt, we will definitely see progress. I mentioned earlier that we were going to fly drones, and helicopters are going to fly our lines today to try to pinpoint those priority spots. So we're doing all that we can while it's still cold, but then as it warms up, and that ice begins to melt, we will definitely be able to continue to make more progress.
Julia Wise with the Tennessee Valley Authority. You guys keep up the good work and keep us up to date on how things are going. I know you're focused on those transmission lines. Keep doing that safely, and we'll have all the power back on before you know it, and I can have you back on the show, and we can discuss hobbies or something. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
That's right. That would be great. That would be great. No, I appreciate you having me today.
Anytime you have something you need to get out, you let us know, and we'll be glad to help you do it here in the great state of Mississippi. Julia Wise, we appreciate your time so much. Coming up after the break in just a few minutes here at the bottom, Kelly Bennett. Nothing going on in the news in the state of Mississippi. I'm sure she's just desperately scrabbling around trying to figure out what she's going to. Now, we're not going to get it all in. That's the way it's been working. I would like to point out, we wrapped up with Julia. This is what I was talking about earlier, Lance, when I said it would be, one step forward, two steps back. We're now up basically to 161,000 outages. We were at 158,000. So the outages continue to roll in. We were over 161,000, and then it dropped back down a little bit, then it went back up a little bit. So if you sit here and you watch the number, if you keep the page open and you watch it live, we're seeing exactly what I knew we were going to see. We get a few on, a few more go off, and then a few more go off. and then we get a few on. That's going to be the process, I'm afraid, for at least the first half of the day today. If your power's not on, it may come back on. It may not stay on, but it'll be back on later. So just trying to prepare everybody for what we're dealing with here. It is exactly, officially, 0 amounts of fun. But it's what we have to deal with today. When we come back, Kelly Bennett joins us from SuperTalk Mississippi News on this Monday morning here on Mondays. Yeah, we might as well just start calling it Mondays.
Mondays. Oh, somebody's got the Mondays, huh?
Yeah. Back with another case of the Mondays after this. Keep it here.
From the Seabrook.
Ahead of the curve. Cross. SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here, and joining us now from her professional-looking studio there, we have the lovely and talented Kelly Bennett with SuperTalk Mississippi News. Absolutely nothing going on this weekend to talk about in the state of Mississippi, Kelly, right?
Yeah, I wish I could say that. It's been an exhausting weekend for a lot of folks in Mississippi. You've talked about the linemen this morning. You've got EMAs across the state who are really your first line of defense when it comes to an emergency like this ice storm. It's your local guys, then they coordinate with MEMA, and then FEMA starts to add itself to the mix, which is happening, as we heard from Scott Simmons with MEMA, as soon as today. So they're bringing in generators for nursing homes, probably hospitals that have had generators go out and that kind of thing, just making sure that everybody can keep warm as we get through this system. And, you know, a lot of people, I'm like you, I'm addicted to the power outages map this morning. You keep hitting refresh, right? So when you've got 160,000 Mississippians without power, that's a huge concern. So I wanted to make sure to pass along some warming tips for you this morning. Of course, some of this, it may seem commonsensical, but when you get in panic mode, when you've lost power, it can be really easy to these thoughts just leave your head. You know what I mean, Dave?
All too well.
I saw somebody say it was a great idea to build like a tent or like a tent fort inside your living room. Close off all the doors to the rooms you're not using. So if you've got a family of 4, which I'd say is the average family in Mississippi, in your house, have everybody settle into one room, build that little tent fort with blankets around it, everybody huddle inside, and that'll keep you warm until the power comes back on. There are warming centers available. I know the Oxford Police Department has been set up as one. I think Simmons mentioned 52 different warming centers across Mississippi. My big concern, Dave, I am looking ahead. So I knew we were going to have freezing temps in northern and central Mississippi Monday and Tuesday. I'm looking ahead. According to the National Weather Service, Wednesday's high in North Mississippi, upper 30s, lows that night around 15. Thursday's highs, upper 30s, lows that night around 20. Friday's highs, lower 30s, lows that night 5 degrees, like 6 to 7 degrees. Saturday, still upper 20s, lows around 10. Sunday, sunny, highs in the mid-30s. So it's going to be Sunday before they get any relief. So what the sun doesn't start to melt, it just, I don't see the melting happening in North Mississippi until at least Saturday.
Well, that's kind of what it's shaping up to be, and we do have a part of that. You notice that dip in temperature next weekend. We have another Arctic air mass that's supposed to be moving in by the end of the week. That's just going to take us right back to the same area without the precipitation. That's the one good piece of news there. But good pieces of news are kind of few and far between with this entire situation, I think, right now.
I think, Dave, the best part of this ice system, if there could be one, is the fact that it hit on a weekend. Can you imagine what this would have been like if this had happened while kids were in school, people were trying to get back and forth to work. And it looks like most people have kind of heeded the warnings, and unless you're essential, you've pretty much been given the next couple of days off so that they can get the ice off the roads and get that cleared up. But the key here really is keeping the roads free for emergency workers, the power crews that need to get out there. You have that extensive interview with Julia from the TVA this morning where she was talking about all the work that's going to go into, fixing up not just the transmission lines. What did you refer to it as? Transmission?
Yeah, the transmission
issues.
lines, yes.
Yeah, the transmission lines. I mean, it's going to be a long time before North Mississippi is back to what we'll call, shall we call it the new normal, as we usually do after a storm? I think we do.
Well, and that's the thing that everyone has to remember. Mentioned this with Scott and Richard both earlier this morning. We get the power back on. That's step one. Then the cleanup begins, and cleanup is going to last weeks, if not months, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And in the middle of all this, here's the weirdest story. There was a police chase in Greenville on Saturday afternoon. Did you hear about this? Despite all of the repeated warnings about staying off the icy roads, a Greenville man now facing several charges after this chase on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to have that story for you at the top of the hour, but that's got to be the craziest thing that I heard all weekend long in the midst of everything that was going on.
You know, I talk about it all the time. I mention this on a regular basis when you're out on a holiday weekend or in bad weather. It's a very simple defensive driving rule. While you're driving, keep an eye on all the vehicles around you and assume they're about to do the stupidest possible thing and figure out how you're going to deal with that. They never let you down. Somebody is always ready to do the stupidest possible thing, like that guy.
It's crazy. It's really crazy. Yeah.
One other thing I wanted to point out, you know, we're talking about the power outages, and I haven't mentioned this morning. When we say right now, I know you've got it open too. Right now it's 160,783. Those are customers. So if you've got a house with 4 people in it, that only counts as one on this list. So as far as actual people go, we're looking at probably somewhere between 300 and 600,000 people who don't have power right now in the state of Mississippi. Just to put that in a little more perspective, we got a ton of people that are in a bad spot this morning.
We really do, and you have to think about the fact that these companies are dealing with multiple states, like when you talk to TVA and they're covering 7 states. I had this conversation with my sister in Indiana over the weekend. She got over 2 feet of snow. And I'm at work going, I would rather get snow than ice because this ice is making trees explode and pop and, you know, the power lines are coming down everywhere. And she was asking me, are you talking about those beautiful live oaks that we see when we drive through Mississippi? And I was like, yes, those big trees are coming down and exploding in the middle of all this.
Yes, well, all of the trees are. Everything is right now in the north part of the state, and that's why the cleanup is going to continue, and that's why I'm sure you've noticed, just like I have with the power outage numbers, it goes up, then it'll come down a little bit, then it'll go up higher than it was. We still have limbs breaking. We still have those live oaks falling apart under the weight of the ice. It's just finally reaching that point. So we're going to see some fluctuation in those numbers throughout the day before we start to see them really drop down and get back somewhere to normal. Couple of related things. We talked earlier about all the closures in the state. One that I didn't mention, no session for the Mississippi legislature today, right?
That's true, yes. And there are a ton of closures. Even schools in South Mississippi are closed or have delayed schedules today. So if you want to take a look at that list, we've got it online for you at supertalk.fm. If you're wondering about the forecast, I told you that, North Mississippi, Central Mississippi, not going to be out of the deep freeze anytime soon this week. For the latest forecast, you can download the SuperTalk app at Google Play or Apple's App Store and get that and keep up to date with what's going on there because, of course, that's going to change daily. But I just encourage you to be alert, stay off the road, stay at home if at all possible, and be safe and keep your family safe.
That's all we can do. We have to deal with the situation. We got to play with the cards we were dealt, and we were dealt a really bad hand this weekend. But we can still make it away from the table. We've just got to hunker down and do what we do best in Mississippi, which is help one another and survive. We're really good at both of those, and I think we're going to get another lesson in just how good we are at that over the next few days. Kelly, keep up the good work. Sooner or later, we got to cook up something nice for you to talk about and do stories on.
I'll have to invite you down to the coast, and we'll spend some time at the beach. How about a bonfire?
There we go.
Good right now.
Do you realize? Do you realize what a revenue generator it would be? Pictures of you and me at the beach. That man would just be printing the money.
You mean people would be paying us to not have pictures on the beach? Is that what you mean, Dave?
Yes, they would actually pay us money to put that behind a paywall, so it would work out perfect. Either way, we win, right? Kelly Bennett, SuperTalk Mississippi News. I know you got a lot going on. We'll let you get back to it. And thank you for you and everybody else on the SuperTalk Mississippi News doing a fantastic job covering all this and keeping us up to date on everything going on in the state year-round. You do good work.
Well, thank you very much. Y'all stay warm and stay safe.
Well, I'm going to do one of those. That warm one? We're going to try. That's about the best we could do. We continue final segment of the show here on this Monday morning on Mornings here on Super Talk. Up next. Keep it here.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Reading I'm going, baby there, going to MEMA, see that what is there. Reading I'm going, know my baby there.
Welcome back. Final segment of Mornings on this Monday morning, presented by Community Bank, where they're more than just a place to manage your money. They're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors for decades. They've been rooted in the community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, they are there for you every step of the way. They're dedicated to their customers, committed to your success, and always there when you need them. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC. You know, we very rightly so have been focused on Mississippi this morning because that's what we do. This has had some wide-reaching effects. Got one I just want to throw out. Sterlington, Louisiana. I would bet you've never heard of it, Lance.
No, I don't know where that one is.
It's right up just to the east of Ruston. It's up in the north part of Louisiana, very close to the Arkansas line. Well, they got plenty of snow and ice and all of that stuff. The Sterlington Police Department yesterday afternoon put out a notice and said, effective immediately, if we find you stuck in a non-4x4 vehicle and you're blocking traffic, we're issuing citations. It's gotten past the point of ridiculous.
Really?
Yeah, we told everyone countless times to stay home unless you have a 4x4, and it isn't doing any good. Emergency services and linemen can't help people if we can't get down our highways, and they actually have a video of some folks stuck in the middle of the road just made it to a certain point and couldn't go any further. So they're going to start writing people tickets for obstructing traffic because they got out and rode around over in Sterlington.
It always blows my mind to drive anywhere these days sometimes because it seems like people have gotten worse at driving. The knowledge of courtesy on the road and those things seems to have been lost on some, maybe more than we're comfortable with. But when you get conditions like this and people are that dumb where they don't do what they're supposed to do, I mean, you just got to kind of back up a little bit and not put yourself first here and realize there are a lot of people out there that have a much greater need than you do to run down to the gas station and check the roads out. And that right there is going to slow down all this if you get in the way of progress. So as a state, let's stay out of the way of the folks trying to get everybody back right. And another shout out to the line workers. These guys are heroes, guys and gals. And those flying the helicopters, running the drones, doing everything they can to get this thing buttoned down so we can get folks back right with power on and feeling good. Can't do it without them. And, thoughts, prayers, everything goes out to you guys, the first responders and the linemen. Goodness gracious, thank you for what you do.
Yeah, because no one else will do it.
No,
I mean,
and
it takes a special breed of human to do what they do, because not only are they spending their time, they have to leave their family at home to deal with the crisis on their own because they've got to go help everybody else.
Yeah, and a lot of these folks, these power lines don't just come from a city. You're way out in the middle of nowhere in many cases, and working in areas where there's going to be trees popping in lines. You can go outside and hear them still cracking and popping. So, and I think Kelly put it best. These aren't just breaking; they're exploding with all the rain, all the water, the waterlogged limbs, and all of a sudden these things just pop. And it's not over yet. So just be super careful out there if you're in those most affected areas.
Here's a little thought experiment, I guess you would call it. Before you go get out and ride around, just to take a look and see. Number one, fair warning, everybody else's place looks like yours, so you've already seen it. But number two, every time you get out and ride around, because you're causing distractions for the people working on the power, working on the things that we really need, you're getting in their way, causing them more difficulties. Every time you get out and do that, that's at least an hour later that your lights are going to come back on.
Sure, and then it's also dangerous for those crews too, because if you can't control your vehicle when no one's around, what makes you think you can control it when there's a whole line of trucks there and people trying to work? So again, let's be courteous of those doing jobs right now, and let's just stay put a little bit.
You're dangerously close to leading me down the path of having the conversation about the focused on me and only me situation that we have in America. My opinion is the one that counts. Well, here's the thought. Sit down.
Yeah.
As I'll be fine. I know how to drive on this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Famous last words, right?
And let me just say, sometimes it's not you that you need to worry about. It's those other yahoos. Keep that in mind, too. One problem can become a lot of problems. We're stuck right at around 161,000 out. That's up about 3,000 since we came on the air.
So we got the poweroutage.us. That's where you're going if you want to see that. Burn, B-E-R-N-E, if you need some coveralls or overalls. We learned that today. And I know there was other stuff that we learned, but hey, we'll have to cover that tomorrow. But there was. And remember the Eurocast. If you like Richard said, I've become an expert on it. Go play around. It's really cool.
For all the tips that affect your daily frozen life, we are here on Mornings. Lance, enjoyed it. I am hopeful I won't be here tomorrow just because that means things went incredibly in Lafayette County.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.